So the case is the latest in a string of emergency appeals as you're taking a look at some file video of Venezuelans being deported to El Salvador. President Trump's administration has made a string of emergency appeals to the Supreme Court, many of them related to immigration. In fact, last week, the government asked the court to allow it to end humanitarian parole for hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, allowing them to potentially be deported as well. The Supreme Court has also been involved in legal battles over President Trump's efforts to swiftly deport Venezuelans accused of being gang members to a prison in El Salvador. This comes under the law that dates back to the 18th century. It's called the Alien Enemies Act, and this is some video where President Trump did deport Venezuelans under that act. The administration has moved aggressively to withdraw a number of protections that have allowed immigrants to remain in the country, including ending the temporary protective status for about 600,000 Venezuelans and 500,000 Haitians. That status is granted in 18-month increments, and the protections had been set to expire April 7th, but a U.S. district judge did order a pause on those plans.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we have to speak about some great news that came down from the Supreme Court today. What happened this time? The Supreme Court today ruled that the Trump administration does have the authority to strip 350,000 Venezuelan illegal immigrants of their temporary protected status. And that is exactly what has occurred today. Now, obviously, DNC lunatics are not happy about this, but this is a good thing and a good day, especially in light of the fact that we all know that for the most part, these illegal immigrants have engaged in asylum fraud. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, I believe, I assume. Right? This is all asylum fraud. All of these folks that are crossing the border illegally that came under Biden, they were seeking economic opportunity. And that is not a proper claim for asylum. Right. But once again, the Supreme Court did the right thing today. They upheld the ruling by acknowledging the fact that, yes, indeed, the Trump administration, by way of Kristi, Noem, because she was the one that did this as soon as she was sworn in. Right. They do have the authority to strip 350,000 Venezuelans of their TPS status, and that is exactly what happened today. So I want to get into this news clip very quickly, and then we're going to jump into an article for a little bit more information. But let's see how they're discussing it here on ABC News. We're going to jump into this news clip right now.
And breaking news to bring you right now, the Supreme Court giving the Trump administration the green light to terminate temporary protected status for about 350,000 Venezuelans. That means no more protection from deportation and allowing them to work legally in the U.S. Lawyers representing the government argue a lower court decision undermined the executive branch and its authority over immigration and foreign affairs, and the conservative majority on the court agreed.
You see how they have to say that they're the conservative majority on the court agreed. Now, when it doesn't swing Trump's way, like it didn't swing his way recently, I believe it was last week, where they denied the Trump administration's use of the Aliens Enemies Act to deport, I believe it's a little bit over 100 or so Trinidad Agua gang members in Texas, if I remember correctly. When it didn't go his way, it's just the Supreme Court, ruled against the Trump administration because they're all demons and devils, right? But when it does swing his way, now it's the conservative majority. You have to love how they play these games when it comes to the propaganda wing of the DNC. But let's carry on.
Our immigration reporter and producer, Armando Garcia, joining me now. So these protections, they're over. So what comes next? Can they still appeal? Or are deportations coming now?
Look, that's exactly what 350,000 Venezuelans are asking themselves right at this moment. They're asking whether or not am I still here in this country legally, and perhaps most importantly for their families, am I still able to work?
I'm not interested in hearing about anything for their families. If you know me, you know how much I hate that family talk. Can't stand that family talk. But let's carry on. All right. Oh, don't get me started on the family separation. I hate it so much. Let me commit a crime right now and I get separated from my son. You will not care what happens to my son's future as a result of me no longer being in his life. So miss me with the family talk.
Work legally in this country and provide.
Let me rewind it back just a little bit. I won't interrupt it again. Well, I'll try not to. Let's go.
And perhaps most importantly for their families, am I still able to work legally in this country and provide for my family? They don't know. And we got to remember that on the way out the door, the Biden administration chose to extend TPS protections for Venezuelans. When the Trump administration came into office, they eliminated that extension. That meant suddenly that hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans who thought they were going to be protected from deportation, who thought that they were going to be able to work legally in this country until October 2026, some of them lost their status in April. Others are set to lose their status in September. Right now, I'm sure they're wondering what exactly comes next.
So you had a chance to speak with a lawyer representing TPS holders in the case. What did they tell you?
And look, this is moving on so quickly. We're actually expecting to hear from the lawyers any minute now in a press conference. I did speak with one of the main litigators representing TPS holders in this case. And here's what he said. I thought this was a very stunning quote. He said, this is the largest single action stripping any group of non-citizens of immigration status in modern U.S. history. That
Shut up. Why don't we talk about the single largest action done by Joe Biden of opening up the border and allowing, 10 to 15 million illegal immigrants across the border? How about we talk about that? All right. You don't want to talk about that. You'll deny it. You'll pretend like it didn't happen, even though we all saw it in real time. I mean, I almost cursed. I was going to say the ish was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that you even have videos out there that we all saw in which Greg Abbott put up fencing and all type of barriers to stop this ridiculous flow of illegal immigrants into the country. And the Biden administration literally went to those fences with forklifts and lifted up the fences to allow illegal immigrants to flow through. But let's not talk about that. We'll pretend like that didn't happen. No, this right here, though, is just atrocious. How dare Trump strip 350,000 Venezuelans of their TPS status? Oh my goodness, it's so horrible, right? But what Biden did, that was okay.
That the Supreme Court authorizes action in a 2-paragraph order with no reasoning is truly.
I'm gonna wind it back just a little bit.
Full action stripping any group of non-citizens of immigration status in modern U.S. history. That the Supreme Court authorizes action in a 2-paragraph order with no reasoning is truly shocking. And I think we have to remember also that not only is TPS Venezuela on the line, TPS Haiti, Cameroon, and other countries are sure to follow. So this is major implications for them. They're wondering if the Trump administration can, on a whim, abruptly end protections for Venezuelans. What does that mean for me?
Well, they can abruptly on a whim and TPS status, because that the president can do that. The same way on a whim Biden gave out TPS status, and on a whim he extended it by 18 months, right? Because you got to understand what happened here with this particular situation. These Venezuelans, they already had TPS status, right? But it was set, they were all set to expire soon, right upon Donald Trump becoming president of the United States, beating Kamala Harris in a bloodbath, right, this past election. What happened was that in January, so we're about like a week and a half away from the inauguration. In January, Biden extended the Venezuelans' TPS status by 18 months. Okay. He did that in January. He could have extended the TPS status of those Venezuelans at any point in time while he was president pre-election, but he chose to do it about a week or a week and a half away from the inauguration. Understand, he did that as a bitter douchebag move. That was Biden going, ha ha, nana, boo boo, watch this. So much for your mass deportation plans, because I have 350,000 Venezuelans locked in. He did that as a douche move about a week and a half before the inauguration. So if Biden can do that a week and a half on a whim before the inauguration, then yes, Trump can, on a whim, remove it, right? He can do that. And that's what the Supreme Court stated. And so what I want to do next is excuse me. I want to jump into this article here very quickly from the New York Post that speaks on it before we head on out of here, just to see if we can gather a little bit more information on what's actually going on with this situation. So let me pull this up for you guys right now, and we're going to jump into this article next. So now let's jump into this article here. It's titled "Supreme Courts Let Trump End Deportation Protections for Up to 350,000 Illegal Immigrant Venezuelans." And the article reads as such. The Supreme Court gave the Trump administration the go-ahead Monday to scrap temporary deportation protection from hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan illegal immigrants. The justices lifted a San Francisco judge's March stay on a White House order ending an 18-month extension of temporary protected status for migrants from the South American country. The San Francisco-based Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the stay, prompting the administration's Supreme Court petition. Monday's order lifted the stay, while the Ninth Circuit hears arguments for and against scrapping the 18-month extension. Liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson noted that she would have kept the district judge's ruling in place. Of course she does. This is the same woman who apparently doesn't know what a woman is. Of course she would agree with foolishness like this. Are any of us surprised? Because I'm not. Former President Joe Biden administration had made Venezuelans eligible for TPS in March of 2021 and signed off on an 18-month extension in January, just before Biden departed from the White House. Like I said, he did it like a big douche, right? Just at a whim, just give him extended TPS status for 18 months, just to get in the way of the mass deportation plans. Like, you know, he did it like, I won't overstate it because I keep wanting to curse now, so I got to calm myself down. Anyway, let's carry on. I keep breaking character, you know, coming close to breaking character. With that extension, TPS was intended to last until October of 2025. TPS and a federal initiative in place since the 1990s gives humanitarian relief to migrants from disaster-plagued countries. The federal program allows migrants to enjoy legal status in the U.S. and get work permits for up to 18 months. In February, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem ended the 18-month extension of TPS for Venezuelans, setting the stage for the protections to have expired last month on April 7th. However, the move prompted a lawsuit charging racial biases. There's no racial bias along in this. There's no racial bias. District Court Judge Edward Chen, a Barack Obama appointee, as always. It's almost always either an Obama or a Biden appointee that puts in place these national injunctions, overstepping their judicial boundaries. They do this all the time. So anyways, the Barack Obama appointed judge concluded that the plaintiffs were likely to succeed and that Noem's move was unauthorized by law, arbitrary and capricious, and motivated by unconstitutional animus. That sounds good. A lot of like kind of legalese there, you know, capricious and, you know, arbitrary, but you're making stuff up. You literally just made, there's nothing about this that's unconstitutional, that's motivated by unconstitutional animus, right? This is all stuff that is able to be done within the legal right of the executive branch of the United States of America. He's literally just lying right now. You know, you're making stuff up. And this guy is a judge. Scary when you think about it. The judge further concluded that ending TPS for Venezuelans would impose harm on hundreds of thousands of persons whose lives, families, and livelihoods will be severely disrupted, cost the United States billions in economic activity, and injure public health and safety in communities throughout the United States. How does a district judge come to that conclusion on his own? He solely came to that conclusion. And you're telling me that the executive branch, who actually handles, the federal government that handles deportations, they don't know what's best, but you know, they don't understand whatever ramifications that it could have. But this Obama appointed district court judge, oh, well, he knows better. He knows better than Trump, Kristi, Noem, Tom Homan, and the gang. He can tell you better as a district court judge. This is just an example of this judge being an activist judge. He's not looking at things impartially. He's not doing his job as a judge to just look at things on an equal level playing field and then make decisions from there. He's 100% partisan, and it's very obvious as he's making things up on the fly, saying that things are unconstitutional when they're not, and at the same time having the audacity to think and believe that he knows and understands more about the impact of illegal immigration, whether it comes to deportations or letting them in. You think that you know and understand more than the executive branch of the United States of America. These guys are so full of it, pompous, and arrogant. It's unbelievable. U.S. Solicitor General John Sauer argued that the law behind TPS did not allow for judicial interventions like Chen's. The district court entered nationwide relief, supplanting Secretary Noem's assessment of the national interest, an area into which a district court is uniquely unqualified to intrude, Sauer argued in his petition. And I 100% agree. That's just like what I was saying earlier. How do you know what's best? How do you, as a district court judge, know better than the Secretary Noem's? How? This is what they do. This is what they're here for. If anybody knows the pros and cons of removing TPS, it's going to be Secretary Noem. It's going to be the Trump administration as a whole, as they're the ones that are in charge of handling these things. How do you, as a lowly district judge, an Obama appointed judge at that, so we know that you're radical, how do you know better? You're woefully unqualified. So Sauer just said it the best right here. Let's carry on because we're almost done with this article as we round things out. The Supreme Court is currently weighing its decision in a case that will determine whether or not to rein in the lower court's powers to impose sweeping injunctions blocking presidential actions. I believe that the Supreme Court will side with Trump on this. Because if they allow this to continue, where you have these radical activist judges, they're able to just put the brakes on the executive branch on a whim with these nationwide injunctions. Well, then it makes becoming the president of the United States completely pointless when these district judges can stop and block you and hold up your policy up for years at a moment's notice whenever they feel like it, if they disagree with you. That's completely ridiculous. And from that point on, you're now opening Pandora's box for it to come back around the other way on you, right? So now the next time a Democrat wins, God forbid, now conservative judges, right, can just start imposing these nationwide injunctions, blocking that Democrat from doing whatever it is that they want to do. And though that may sound good to me, right, at the same time, you understand it's wrong. Because then what becomes the point of even having a president of the United States? What's the point of running? What's the point of going out and voting at that point? If the opposition can just block any and everything you do at a moment's notice with these nationwide injunctions, that then always has to go up to the Supreme Court. You got to look at it from the Supreme Court side too. On their end, their plates are not just full in the Supreme Court. Their plates are overflowing now. It's overflowing. That's not sustainable to keep having all these cases come to the Supreme Court just like this rapidly, nonstop. Every time you turn around, there's another case that's coming to you. They can't sustain this, right? So I do think that they're going to side in the favor of Trump with this. I do think the Supreme Court's going to do the right thing, because if they don't, that would just be insane. It's an absurd amount of work for them to have to engage in, and you open up Pandora's box to becoming the president of the United States pointless, which makes the voice of the people pointless. Because at the end of the day, Trump won in a bloodbath against Kamala Harris. Now he's trying to put forth and enact the will of the people. Both sides had an opportunity to present their argument. America chose Trump. So now what we want to do is for our democracy to work the right way and for Trump to do what he said he was going to do. this is what he is indeed attempting to do, is what he said he was going to do concerning mass deportation and a host of other things. But then you have these DNC lunatics who keep getting in the way with these nationwide injunctions. This can't carry on like this. Because like I said, and I've said it again in closing, as we round this out, what's the point of any of this then? Right? What's the point? What's the point of having a president of the United States? What's the point of voting? What's the point of it all? It means nothing. So I do believe that the Supreme Court will do the right thing on this, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're too new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also do not forget to follow me, very important, on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.